Greetings and welcome to the Voices Listed podcast show with Dr. PMAC. Today, I'm joined by my brother and my friend, Reverend Adam Browett, who's an experienced leader, a charismatic and sought after speaker, visionary, and evangelist. I'm looking forward to discussing with him a whole range of issues from his journey of faith to mental health, as well as just discussing his commitment to building bridges, fostering inclusion, encouraging growth, innovation, and empowering people. Join us today on Voices Listed with Dr. PMAC. Knowing you and the person that you are, I just love how you have this authentic aura, right? And we were talking just a couple of minutes ago about this notion of authenticity. Can you just take us back a little bit? How did you find yourself in this space where you are now? I love calling you Rev B, right?
Yeah.
Reverend Adam Browett. Where did the journey start?
Were the journey of authenticity or journey of being irreverent?
The journey of being
I
reverent.
think I didn't grow up going to church, and so to me, I didn't even realize that being a
Okay.
reverend was a career path or opportunity. I learned what I knew about Christianity from watching The Simpsons or from watching cartoons, and so I had zero reference, and I became a Christian when I was 17, and at that point, I was in kind of like my senior year of high school, and I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be a drama teacher. I'm going to work. And then I realized that being a drama teacher felt like a lot of school, and I was like, oh, I need to do something that's easier. I know what I'll do. I'll be a pastor. That's easy, but was I mistaken? But my pathway, I didn't think I wasn't a Christian. I became a Christian, and right from the beginning, I realized, whoa, if somebody like me could become a Christian, somebody who I would picture lives on the fringes of like what would typically be a person who would be accepted at a church service. And I was like, if I can get saved, anybody can. And if I can, well, what if God wanted to use me to help reach people who don't fit in? And so kind of right from the beginning, I've always felt this call or this draw to reach people who are far from God, who are living on the fringes of kind of society. But I wouldn't have articulated that in the sense that I feel like I'm going to be a reverend, like when I was at that stage. Again, I didn't know that was a career option. And so I just wanted to try and do everything I could with my life to make an impact in other people's lives.
Wow, that's so interesting. And so take us back a little bit again. So what was growing up like for you? Did you grow up in Nanaimo? Was it?
Yeah, we grew up in an area, it was called Harewood. So it's kind of like the hood of Nanaimo. Had a great family who I knew loved me, but almost gave us too much of a leash. Like they weren't super involved in terms of what I did. As long as I came home at night and I was there in the morning, safe and sound, they were fine. And so I had a lot of leaks and latitude to kind of do whatever we want. We were really big into like the skateboard culture, and hence my skateboard on the wall. It was just a huge piece of kind of how I grew up, and with that skateboard culture, kind of brought a stick it to the man anarchy, kind of like teenage angst, and from that, kind of just made a bunch of dumb lifestyle choices that got me in trouble. But it was from that position where I realized maybe there's more to life than this.
Wow, that's so interesting. And so we live in this society and this world where, folks talk about, and, as part of my research, as I was just reading and preparing for our conversation today, that we have, plus 4,000 religions, right? Why Jesus? Why did you choose to follow Jesus?
That's a really good question. I always thought, like, I just remember being a teenager and talking to my girlfriend at the time, and Sandy, the girl I ended up marrying. And I remember talking to her when I was a teenager and saying to her that there's no way I would ever become a Christian. And it wasn't that I had a problem with God. I more of a problem with Christians. I had a problem with the church. I had a problem with kind of God's coworkers, right? I could handle the boss, but the coworkers drove me crazy. And so I think it was that. And so for me, like I could have been open to any religion at that stage of my life, but for me, I had a personal encounter with Jesus. Like as I said, like I felt like I had just done a lot of dumb things as a teenager, and to come to a place where I can meet a God who, despite all the dumb things that I've done, he still loved me, that he had a plan for me, that he had a future for me. Like that concept was so foreign, because all I heard was, like, when I thought of people in authority, it was kind of like tisk, 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 don't do this, don't do that. I assumed that's what God was like. Little did I know he had arms open wide wanting to embrace me, even though I had my stuff. And so that's the part that drew me to Jesus specifically, and it's Jesus who drew me to Christianity, not the Christians, not the Christians.
Wow, that's no. You know, it's so interesting. So I met you a couple of years ago, and the one thing that instantly drew me to your particular style of teaching the Word of God was authenticity, right? So I sat in a service, and I'm like, I can sit here and listen to this guy the whole day.
Right.
Why? Because of literally what you're saying, Rev B. This authenticity, this, like you've just said, hey, look, I made a couple of bad lifestyle decisions or whatever, right? I would rather sit and listen to you speak to me talking about real lived experience than someone who, well, I'm pure, I'm holy, I've got it all done, right? And so that really, really intrigued me, but even my family too. And so let's segue a bit into that authentic bit. How do you bring yourself to that space of just being authentic? Like
it's a really good question. It didn't come naturally, for sure. I had to do my own kind of deep wound trauma kind of work, my own self work, my own shame work, my own guilt work, because when I started off as a youth pastor, I hid that part of who I was. Like I wanted to fit in. Like there's no way I would have showed up with a bunch of tattoos on my arms to anything. I would have been like, hey, I'm a good Christian pastor. You should. And so I was really ashamed of who I was, and it was when I really kind of got to this place where I could reconcile kind of the who I was with who God created me to be, that I don't have to pretend to be somebody in order to be used by God, that I'm actually more beneficial as a pastor to people if they can see Christ at work in me, as opposed to seeing me look super Christ, I don't know, like look like Jesus, right? Like it's not about making me famous or making me look good in a sermon. It's actually about helping people connect with God. And so if people can connect with God by seeing themselves through my failures, right? If I can help them avoid an obstacle because I've already walked through it, like that's a win. And but it didn't come intuitively. Like as a Christian, when I started, like I would over project, pretending that I knew more than I did, because I felt ashamed about one, my path, to how little I knew. But once I was just kind of honest with hey, you know what? Probably the best thing I bring to the table is the fact that I don't know everything, and I have messed up, and I am superhuman. And not superhuman, but I am super human. I'm a human.
Sure. No.
So because of that, I could make it work.
I get you. That's amazing, and I think it makes me think about why you say that the attraction was Jesus and not the Christians, right? Because when I think about it and I reflect on some of the things that we were talking about before we started recording, is many a time if we look to people, we get disappointed, right? Because in many cases, I'm a wreck, right? I stumble, I fall, I get up, and sometimes I speak with I'm like, man, I'm sorry I failed you. Like I gotta get up back back up again and then go, right? And so I loved how you framed that. Look, Patrick, it was just about Jesus and the fact that I am coming as I am, and He's able to embrace me and take me in. And so I wanna move to another part of your life now, where you are heading a huge church, huge movement, Calvary Temple in Winnipeg. How is that like? How is leading in a multicultural setting for you? How are the experiences
it's in so many ways, because what drew me to ministry was the desire to reach out and make an impact in other people's lives, because that was like the core, like, and not just other people, but people who don't fit the Christian norm. I feel like because of
the mold?
like because of that, like, deep drawing and calling inside of me, working in a large multicultural church in the middle of downtown Winnipeg makes sense in so many ways. Like, our community where we're located in the Central Park kind of neighborhood of Winnipeg. So that means that we are one of the most densely populated neighborhoods. We have the most immigrants in our neighborhood. We have one of the most highest poverty rating in our neighborhood, and one of the higher crime rates in our neighborhood.
Wow. The crime.
So it is not uncommon for me to walk outside my door and see somebody, whether they're shooting up or doing other nasty things they shouldn't be doing right outside my office door. So pastoring in the inner city has been such a sweet gift, and working in a multicultural and diverse church it's a picture of heaven. Like, not only like cultural diversity, but like age diversity, socioeconomic diversity. To have a homeless guy and a doctor in the same pew is unique, right? And so it's a privilege to be able to try and figure out how to steward that opportunity.
That's amazing. And so, as you talk about stewarding that opportunity, people describe you as charismatic. People describe you as a visionary. I mean, you and I have had so many chats about the plans that you have, the visions. You are working on building a youth camp and expanding and growing that out. You're talking about putting in a kindergarten or ECD or early childhood development unit in the church. All of these things. So, how have you seen these? How do you balance? These two qualities as you're trying to do the work?
Like, there's a part of me that, like, the advantage to being charismatic means that I can inspire people, right? And then the advantage to being visionary means that I can see possibilities in the future that maybe other people can't see. And so if I can inspire people to see that there's a possibility in the future, that's a major win. So what better place to do that than in the downtown core of a city that's often overlooked, that's often underappreciated. And so to be able to bring life and to bring hope and to bring value to a place is such a huge win, not just for our church community, but also our neighborhood community, also the city as a whole, and I'm believing for the country. If we can see God move here with a bunch of unlikely people, how exciting will that be? And when I look at the story of the Gospels and I see Jesus, how he picked his disciples and he picked unlikely people to be kind of like the leaders of his movement, like, it all makes sense. If I look back to even like the Azusa Street revival and how that started back in the turn of the century there, like, what always inspires me is that revival took place in the inner city, with like people from all nations represented. It was multi-ethnic, and that's what made it unique at a time when segregation was at an all-time high. And so all of a sudden you have people who are gathering together and experiencing a move of God. Like, that's kingdom kind of stuff. And so what's cool about this particular church is, like, we have roots that are connected here at Calvary Temple that are connected to Azusa Street. And so it's a long 100-year, we're a 117-year-old church. So we have a long history and heritage of people saying, let's be a community and let's move things forward and let's see what God can do.
So talking about that, I love you. I'm a history buff, right? So I love just the historical aspect. So how do you then balance tradition with innovation, right? And so you look at this, history that you have, and you look at your church particularly. You've got sort of two services going on: the traditional and the contemporary. How are you balancing?
That's a really good question. That's the $1 million question to try and figure out. how do you, the challenge for a church with a great legacy is we can get stuck almost glamorizing the past, where we can remember when God did that. Remember when Amy Semple McPherson came and people were getting saved all over. But remember that? And it's like, actually, I don't remember that, because that was 100 years ago, right? And so there's a little bit of that in our world. I just started collecting records, and I feel like I have a new appreciation for this, because I started collecting records. A record is it's got a unique sound, like when you're playing a good record. But when I'm listening to Spotify, like it's a world of difference. I have my choice of like 6 songs with like the worst audio ever coming on my record, or I can listen to a bazillion songs that I've never even heard of before, that are clean and crisp, and that's a unique tension of, we hear on one hand we have like a historical piece that has a value and has something special to it, but on the other hand we also have like, we need innovation. We need to innovate as a church, otherwise we're going to die. So we're constantly growing. If we as humans didn't grow, which is another word for innovation, is growth, right? As humans didn't grow, we die. If we're not innovating, we're dying. So that's the story here.
So that brings me to thinking about, sort of your leadership style, right? And so even as you try to sort of navigate this path of, tradition, carrying some aspects of tradition forward, but also bring in new innovations, what would you say has been the biggest lesson that you've learned from working in a multicultural church setting?
I had a pastor in Edmonton, Glenn Patrick, at West Edmonton Christian Assembly. He said one time, diversity is divine and division is demonic. And that perspective really helped me see a value in in a diverse setting, right? Like, there is something God ordained about it, right? And the like the value of working in a multicultural dynamic, it's a sweet picture of God, because the way I think, like, I don't own the market on how to like process Christianity, right? Being a white guy who grew up on an island in British Columbia, right? Like, and so I have that perspective, right? And somebody who grew up somewhere else in a different scenario, they have a different perspective. And as we engage the scriptures together, and as we engage Christianity together, and prayer together, and worship together, we become a better version of who we are when we embrace the differences that we have.
Yeah. And so as we embrace the differences that we have, as we, move forward, frame for us what's been the most challenging aspect perhaps of your administrative leadership, and then also having hands-on. So you're trying to prepare for the youth your service, right? And you've got police outside, and so immediately you're drawn from having the hands-on ministry to admin, what do I need to do? Are people safe? How do you balance that? And what has been the most significant challenge perhaps that you faced as you try to balance
when I started out in ministry, I would have said that I would have defined ministry as kind of maybe listening to Jesus and doing what he says. And I love that. I say that all the time.
And you live by it. You say by it, like your family lives by that too, right?
Listen to Jesus and do what he says. Live by that principle.
Yeah, I love it.
But I assumed that is the best way to articulate what ministry is. Listening to Jesus, doing what he says. And at a high level, there's truth to that. But when you like peel back the layers and you start getting down further, what is ministry? What does this look like? There's administrative tasks, leadership stuff, there's exhortation style things, like you just keep peeling the layers. When you get to the very bottom layer, like the best definition of ministry I've ever heard is ministry is a series of difficult and awkward conversations. That's it. And from that base level, it's so helpful. It's so helpful, because now all of a sudden it takes away the glamour that's associated with ministry. It takes away all like the prestige, and it makes it more more attainable for everybody. How do I do ministry? I'd be willing to have the difficult and awkward conversations. And so when we have that particular youth event happen at our church, it sounds awful where we're at, but it's a privilege to be here. But so like the other day at youth, somebody got jumped literally right outside the doors as kids were getting dropped off at youth. So kids are getting dropped off at youth from all around the city, and somebody just got jumped. Wow. We had to call the police, the ambulance in there, our youth pastor's making a statement to the police. Craziness. Crazy. And then you got to try and unpack that to the youth. You got to try and unpack what just happened, what they just saw. And the best part of that, even though I wish obviously that didn't happen, but the privilege that we get in that is a difficult, awkward conversation. What did you guys see? What did you guys feel? Process that. Bring change. Do you feel safe? How do you see God working? Like how can we, like, it opens up this opportunity to be able to kind of pastor and disciple people in a more, and again back to authenticity, like in an authentic way, right? Because I could tell you stories from, you can look at my Instagram and see 1,000 people at a young adults conference that happened at a church a month ago. I'm not putting the guy who just got jumped outside the doors on my Instagram feed. I can tell you right now, the way we handle that, and pastor that, walk our church through that, and our neighborhood through that, and our community through that, that is how we see change happen.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so that's just amazing. Like just taking the real moment, the authentic pieces of life, and use those in pastoring and in teaching. That's so great. And so when you reflect, what one question or maybe two do you wish people would ask about ministry or leadership now that you've been in this for over 20 years now, 25 years? Like, what do you think, people should be asking you?
I wish I asked earlier. I wish I asked God, Jesus, what do you want from me? Like, not necessarily what I want to do as a career, like what do I want, but like I wish because those go hand in hand. What I want, what Jesus wants, like oftentimes there's some correlation there, but sometimes it's not. Right? Sometimes my motives are wrong. Sometimes when I was younger, I probably leaned on ambition more. I leaned on my own strengths and skill sets more. I leaned on trying to prove myself more. And I think if I would have just cared less about what other people think and more about what God thinks, I would have been a healthier pastor, healthier leader, healthier father, healthier husband. And I wish I would ask that question, or people going into ministry or trying to make those decisions. I wish they'd ask that question. The deeper spiritual, not sexy, very unglamorous questions of like, God, what am I wired to do? Like, why am I here? What do you want? Am I worthy in your eyes? What do you like about me, God? Like, as opposed to worrying about what others think.
Wow, that's so profound. So really just asking the purpose questions, right? Why am I here? What is my reason for existence? And Lord, like, just show me, paint the picture for me so that I could walk and live that, right? Wow, that's...
The trap of that question, though, is the trap.
Profound.
We ask God, what is my purpose? And we're expecting God to say, firefighter. Marry a hottie and have 3 kids. Move to New York City. We're expecting very specific answers. And what I love about God is the whole journey of Christianity, the whole journey of life is learning to hear his voice and learning to become more like Christ, right? This whole like reconciling to who we were like originally intended to be, who he made us to be. And so as we seek the face of the Father to figure out who we are, as opposed to figuring out who we are and then going to the Father, like that process switch changes everything, because then you can be fulfilled having nothing but knowing that you're in the presence of God, versus feeling I have to have everything and then I'll serve.
That's interesting. And so I wanna you said something just a minute or so ago about turning up well your health and making sure that you're present for family and stuff. So leading such diverse ministries, particularly in Winnipeg, with the various things that you're doing, is intense. And you've alluded to some of the examples of situations that happen around you. So how do you personally recharge and work through burnout? Like how do you do it? You're a husband, you're a father, you're a friend. Sometimes I try calling you like, no, not available, not available, not available. Like how do you balance all of these things, and how do you I'm just having a go at you for not picking up my phone, but anyway, how do you personally recharge and avoid burnout?
I handled this so poorly in the past that I've learned how to do it from doing it wrong. When I was with you in Victoria, like I went through my lowest mental health season ever. Like as a pastor, on the one hand, I'm leading this campus and it's growing, it's thriving, we're getting saved like crazy. On the other hand, I'm taking depressants and wondering like, is there any purpose in this life? And then so I stepped back and had to figure out like, how did I get there? Right? Like, how did that happen?
How did I get there?
And so like through therapy and through medication and through this inner like personal deeper work, I was able to kind of start being able to see beyond kind of the pit that I was living in. And once I was able to get out of that pit, then I started to be able to build better rhythms and better habits. I eventually, after a year, was able to wean off of medication. I still see a counselor, therapist. I still see a life coach. I want to make sure I don't go back in that pit ever again. Because I think I realized that there's too much at stake. Like I think of my children, I think of my wife. What I learned from leaving Coastline, for example, and moving to Winnipeg, like you're irreplaceable in a church. Like they hire Pastor Laura to come and replace me, and the church is doing great. The church is going to move on. Everything is fantastic. But my children and my wife, they're not replaceable. Like I'm not replaceable. Like I need to care about my health. I need to care about my children, like health, their relationships, who they are, their spirituality. My wife care about that. And so I think that perspective shift helped me see that value. Like even while we're on this call, you will have heard some dings. That was Shandy messaging me, hey, can you pick up Thomas from school? And it's like, absolutely, I can pick up Thomas from school. Like I got to make room for my family, especially when it's so crazy, right?
So
like
good.
My world can be very.
And I must say that, hey, bro, I've noticed that. I've noticed that from your socials, right? I mean, the other day you were, I think, viewing art with your son. And then the other day, Thomas was up in a tree doing some funny stuff. But I've noticed, and the other day you were out for ice cream with the family. And so I've noticed. And so bravo, man. Bravo for doing the important things. Right, because my view of that too is that when I look at you as a leader in community, as a leader of faith, like you also got to practice what you preach, right? Like, okay, you don't stand in front of the pulpit and say, okay, take care of your families, you must make, and then you are not, and perhaps your kids will be like, Dad, who's this guy?
I'm not perfect at this either. I am not.
We never see him at all.
I'm working on it. Like I think I'm aware that it can be a problem, so I pay attention to it, and I'm hopeful that I never step into a season of burnout ever again.
Yeah, but just to say, I see you, bro. I see the work you're putting in with family. I see the times that you spend. I'm like, oh man, okay. Sometimes I feel guilty. I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to go out with my son for soccer. Maybe I need, because my pastor is doing that. He's doing that, so awesome. I need to go out.
That's a good example. Because I realized, Thomas right now, he keeps coming to me, wants to play basketball. Let me play basketball. Let's play basketball. Yeah. For a while there, I kept saying no. I'm like, no, I'm tired. I just got home from work, and then I realized that window of him wanting to play basketball is so short. And like, I guess the older my kid, like Bronwyn's getting, she's going, I was going to say married. She's not getting married. She's graduating. Graduating this year. I'm realizing.
No. We were talking about that the other day. We were like,
I know. But I'm just realizing how short life is and how short those moments are. It takes 5 minutes for me to go out and crush him in basketball. And so I may as well say yes a lot more. I learned somewhere along the line, I learned that I led with no, not led with yes. And I was like, what made me start doing that? So that was helpful for me to realize.
Yeah. Well, that's a powerful realization, leading with yeses and not leading with nos, right? That's so good. I mean, I heard a story once of, a son who's always looking for his dad's attention, and the dad's like, hey, I'm busy. And then the son one day was like, you know what, Dad, how much do you get paid for an hour? And, the dad blurted out an amount, and the son went, started collecting cans and doing all of these things, raised what the dad had said, and came and said, Dad, I want to buy an hour of your time. I've got money now. that crushed that man. Like, he's like, oh my word. And literally then just paused and said, okay, hey, I want to reset this. And so I think about it even in my own journey as a father, as a husband, to actually pause, right? When my wife says, hey, dude, I need your time. Like, okay, you got me. Like, shut off everything. Hey, you got me. Let's go for a walk or let's go for a hike. What's going on? Let's have a touch point. Let's have. Sometimes we have fierce conversations, kneecap conversations. Let's talk about the real things. What's happening? What we need to sort out. Or it could be my son saying, "Hey, Dad, all I need to do is just to kick the ball with you at Happy Valley." I'm like, okay, let's do it, champ, right? And so let's keep encouraging each other, right? Let's keep working at it. Again, like I said, I'm not perfect too, right? That sometimes I get clouded in this office and busy, but you rightly said that we don't have the time that we think we have. Now I'm looking, my daughter is having a major milestone birthday next week. I know a friend of mine whose niece is getting married and she's 19, and I'm like, what, 19? My daughter's almost, what's happening? Right. But Reverend Browett, I've enjoyed this conversation with you, but I won't let you go without having a couple of questions answered. And I normally ask my guests these questions. So the first one would be, what would you tell 17-year-old Adam Browett today, based on all the lessons that you've had, and you're at this moment, you're looking at yourself, at your younger self? What would be maybe one profound thing you would say to young Adam?
I would say, live in the moment more. I felt like for the majority of my adult life, I led kind of like with my head in the future, my feet maybe in the past, and my body in the present, and I was kind of like that.
Stop it!
Like
stop
once
it!
I get a job, or once I get a nice car, then once I get a family, once I get married, once I have kids, once I buy a house, once then I'll feel something. That's rubbish. Like, but if I just was like present, like just present, living in the present, I would be way happier. I think I'd be happier.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for telling me that. I need to do more of that right now. Thanks for that lesson. And so, if you were to take 3 people out for dinner, living or dead, who would they be and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. Living and dead. I'm a pastor, so I have to say Jesus. And who would I take out? Oh, that's a great question. The first 2 that came to my mind, and I didn't want to get political, but like, I would take out. I am so fascinated. No, I'm not even gonna use that analogy. But like, there's just like these world leaders are just so interesting to me. Like what would make a Donald Trump think like he thinks, or what would a like a Putin think what he thinks, or like a Kim Jong-un, or like a Zelensky, or like pick the world, Carney, pick the world leader, like what makes so much pressure, right? There's so much pressure in those roles, and why respond? Why do you respond the way you respond? How do you think? Why do you do what you do? Barack Obama, what a great conversation that would be. I'd be fascinated to sit with some of those guys. If I had to pick a random fun people, I'd love to talk to LeBron James.
Yeah.
What does it feel like being 40 and crushing all these records and having all these things? You're in your sunset phase. Like, you don't have a lot of miles ahead of you in this industry. How does it feel like having like a young 20-something rookie of the year, or not rookie, MVP, MVP, like MVP, the face of the NBA is changing. How do you walk through that? Like, how do you walk through that and not be like, hey, what happened to me? Through that? How do you still stay confident? That'd be an interesting conversation, I think. I don't know. I like Denzel Washington. Like, I'd want to like, bro, like, so you're a person of faith. You're a person of faith, but at the same time, you make these raunchy movies on the other.
You want to treat me like that?
How do you reconcile that? Like, how do you walk through that? Like, I'm curious, like the heart. Like, obviously, what he does, there's so much art to what he does.
Yeah.
But then sometimes like when the lines get fuzzy, how do you make those decisions? And I think all those winners would be like all those people. They like those fuzzy lines. We have our humanity.
Yeah.
Then we have the things that you do and the things that people see. Like where do those reconcile? How do you sleep at night? Like what does that look like?
Yeah.
What do you see that we don't see? Because we only see the public version of you or what the news or media says. Like
we see what you allow us to see. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. I think those would, if there's a +1, I would ask Shandy, like, hey, Shandy, you know what? Let me take this ticket. I'm gonna come in. I would love to sit alongside with you and listen to Denzel, listen to LBJ, listen to LeBron James, just respond to some of these questions, and then listen to Barack Obama, listen to Trump. Yeah, I'm fascinated by just some of the things that he does, and off the cuff, or sometimes. I mean, I was watching his Memorial Day post. We're like, dude, like what? How do you even get to post something like that? How?
I'm fascinated by people who think differently than me, and that's probably why I thrive in a multicultural setting.
Yeah,
like because like and so like good. There's this piece of me that I just find it interesting. Like what makes like we all were born. Like we all have. I was going to say we all have the same opportunity, but we don't actually all have the same opportunity. But we are all born. We all are like the Lord has a calling and a plan. I gotta believe that as a pastor, that God created us in His image to make the world a better place, to bring people to know Him. Like I gotta believe that. And then if that's the case, like let me sit and talk with like a serial killer. I want to talk to that guy. Like how did you get there?
How did your mind get to that place?
And I'd just be curious, right? Like I would just be very curious.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. And I know we're running short of time, and I'll be done. And I know I'll kick myself if I don't get to ask this question. Maybe 3-4 weeks ago, I noted a post that you made on your socials. And this was concerning the election that we had here in Canada. And I was like, I've never, not on the pulpit, never on the socials, I've never seen or never heard Reverend Browett comment. What drove you to provide or to put in your comments around the election and the role of perhaps the church and politics? What were your thoughts? What was going through your mind as you posted or as you waded into the political conversations?
I'll start by saying that I think churches should be nonpartisan. Like I don't think it helps anybody for me to say from the pulpit who somebody should vote for. Because my goal is to connect people to Christ, right? Help them think Christ-like. And so that's the purpose of my post. A couple things. One, I realized I actually have a pretty big platform. And so people are wondering, people are asking people are wondering, what would Adam do in this situation? And so there's part of me that realized I can't stay silent. I got to say something. And then help them process. And then so the goal of that post was just to help Christians reconcile. This is my faith, because I met a lot of Christians who were kind of like, this is crazy, this is divisive. I'm not voting for anybody. I'm like, well, don't do that. That's not how we solve it. Like, I wish that's how we could deal with it. That's like the conflict avoidance side of me loves that idea.
True.
Like, just don't get involved. But there's part of me that's like, how can I better equip people to engage the conversation? And that's kind of how I handle Christianity as a whole. Like, I just try and help people. I try and help change the way people think. Like that's pastor. That's what I bring to the table when I'm preaching on a Sunday. How can I help you change the way that you think? And so that political post I posted a while ago was more so around, hey Christians, you got skin in the game. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I am telling you to prayerfully engage the process. Don't pretend. Don't pretend that you don't have skin in the game.
Yeah. And I loved how you framed it, right? I loved how you framed it in the post and even how you're framing it now. That, I mean, as a pastor, your role even is to unite people, right? So you'll have conservatives, you have liberals, you have, Green Party supporters in your church, right? So you are there to unite. And the key thing that stood out for me in your post was, I think it was the second slide that you said, ask for wisdom. You said ask for wisdom, right? Not just opinions, right? So ask for wisdom and not just opinions. And I was like, wow, That's pretty good, right? Because you will hear everyone say whatever they want to say about whoever was running, but what's important is getting the wisdom now to find out and say, okay, out of all of these things, God, what are you saying for this country? What should we do, and who should I vote for based on what you're saying? So those were profound. I think I liked and I shared that post, and so I was like, this is interesting. He has never waded into these conversations, but
we'll see how that goes. I'm just kind of convinced that people are. This isn't a slam to humans, but it is. But I think that we are intellectually lazy. And we will take knowledge in the quickest, easiest form we can, and that's why social media is dangerous. And so we have all these people making these very volatile statements on the media based off of who knows what kind of facts or information. And so it was just this kind of me trying to help people realize, hey, step back a little bit, ask the wise question. Where are we getting the information from? My favorite thing about the Bible says very clearly, ask the Lord for wisdom and he'll give it to you, right? And so I think we often neglect wisdom and just go to quick knowledge, and we can hurt people if we do that.
With that, Reverend Adam Browett, my brother, my friend, I am so lucky to have you in my life. I'm so honored. I applaud you for all the work that you do, the heart that you bring to it, the authenticity, the generosity that you have. Thank you for coming on to the Voices Listed show with Dr. PMAC. I really, really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for everything
my pleasure,
that you
man.
do, man.
Thanks for inviting me. It's an honor. I'll come back anytime.
Thank you for listening to the Voices Listed podcast with Dr. PMAC. I hope you enjoyed insights that came out of this conversation. Keep your notifications on. Our next episode will be dropping soon. Thank you and enjoy.